of the RG's weekly NFL show. The Philadelphia Eagles, how well are they positioned to repeat as Super Bowl champions? I actually had the chance to speak to Dallas Goedert recently and defend the Super Bowl title and repeat as a Super Bowl champ. And like I said, on paper, everything looks great right now. A top 3 contenders list to the Philadelphia Eagles and their supremacy in the NFL. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to another edition of the RG's weekly NFL show, where we tackle the biggest topics in the league. Obviously, teams have just completed mini camp. We're now going to transition into training camp next month. So teams, players, they're taking a break right now, getting their rest in while they can before things kick into high gear at the end of July with training camp, leading into the preseason, eventually leading into the regular season. So obviously it's no secret, the Philadelphia Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions. They will open up the regular season by hosting their hated rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, in Week 1 on national television when they hang their championship banners. So, the topic that I want to tackle this week is the Philadelphia Eagles and, okay, how well are they positioned to repeat as Super Bowl champions? You look at their schedule, they actually have a ridiculously tough schedule. It's the 4th toughest schedule in the NFL. 11 of their 17 games are against playoff teams, and they're against the best teams in the NFL. They play the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 2, where the Chiefs will have their chance at redemption and revenge from last year's Super Bowl loss. They'll be playing the Chiefs in Arrowhead in Week 2. The Eagles also match up against the Rams in Week 3, where the Rams, they gave Philadelphia their toughest test in the playoffs, only lost by 6 points, came within 13 yards of beating the Eagles. The Rams will play Philadelphia in Week 3. Eagles play the Buccaneers in Week 4. Philadelphia, they've always struggled a little bit against Tampa Bay. They've lost a few games against them in recent years. And that's not including later on in the season, they play the Detroit Lions. They play the Buffalo Bills also. And oh yeah, of course, their 2 games against the Washington Commanders, where 2 of their last 3 are against the Commanders to end the regular season. So, again, it's a tough schedule. It's not going to be easy to repeat as Super Bowl champs, but something that the Philadelphia Eagles have going for them is they return most of their nucleus from last season. They have all their main players for the most part. They have Jalen Hurts back. They have Saquon Barkley back, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and oh yeah, their tight end, Dallas Goedert. I actually had the chance to speak to Dallas Goedert recently, and it's my second time since he won a Super Bowl that I've had the opportunity to speak with the Eagles' starting tight end. And, it's great to see Goedert back in Philadelphia. Obviously, there were some questions surrounding his future. Initially, he had no guaranteed money for this upcoming season. They did a rework deal, and he is now back for basically 1 year and $10 million guaranteed with an additional $1 million in incentives. But it was a great conversation with Dallas because we were able to speak about the Eagles' quest to repeat as Super Bowl champs. I asked him about Jalen Hurts. I asked him about Saquon Barkley. How determined are they to repeat as Super Bowl champs? And then I also asked him about his decision to rework his deal so he could return to Philadelphia to have a chance at defending the Super Bowl title and repeating as a Super Bowl champ once again in Eagles green. Check out this interview with Dallas Goedert. Dallas, hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you again.
I just talked about Kittle's new deal. Obviously, you did a rework deal this offseason. There were some questions about your future in Philadelphia. You're a member of the Eagles. You reworked the deal. But kind of go into detail during that time period where your future was kind of uncertain. Where was your mindset at?
Yeah, for me, I have all the belief in myself. But I talked to my agent a lot. It was a tough spot. I was in the last year of my deal without any guarantee. So the team had a lot of the power over me. But I was really happy with the way it worked out. I'm happy that I got to stay an Eagle. And it's just a 1-year deal. I got to stay healthy this year and go play really good football. And who knows what's in store for me after that. But it wouldn't have felt right leaving Philadelphia and watching them, try to defend the title and not be part of it. So I told my agent, whatever we have to do to make it work, let's make sure I'm back in the midnight green.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to see you back in Philadelphia. I do know your rookie year was in 2018. I believe that was the year after Philadelphia beat New England, right? So, but you're a part of this team. You're defending the title. Describe this feeling. I know we haven't started the regular season yet. We're about 3 months away. But describe the feeling of being a defending champ, and what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge once you start putting on the pads and playing the games?
Yeah, it's incredible. But I think the biggest challenge is, the sustained success part of it. And I think we've been doing a really good job of talking to different people and figuring out how they were able to continue to have success after they won a championship. And I think the biggest thing is just being where your feet are, not relying on what you did in the past, but what are you currently doing to improve. And I think as a team, we've been doing a great job this offseason of, it doesn't seem like anybody's staying on the Super Bowl, the fact that we won it. I think everybody's almost more hungry because we did get there, because we did win it. We know what it takes to get back. So I think we've been doing a good job in that aspect. But the hardest part is every team we play every week, they beat the last year's Super Bowl champion, and that's what they're trying to do. So that's what we're going to have to focus on, is just making sure we are where our feet are, and that we have the same process that got us to where we were last year. We can't look ahead and we can't say we're going to go back, because that's when you're going to get bit in the butt. So we just got to make sure we go through our process the same way we have in the past, and continue to improve and evolve and do the things that are important to winning.
Yeah, Dallas, obviously, you guys just, went through mini camp, and I'm sure, you've talked a lot to Saquon and Jalen Hurts since the Super Bowl win. It's pretty safe to say with those guys, they were almost immediately after the Super Bowl win, they were eager to win another one, right? You sensed that by talking to them, by observing them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jalen went back to throwing right away, and he said it was for his own sanity. He hung out with Michael Jordan and asked him about the same thing, the sustained success, about how he was able to do it multiple times, multiple years in a row. Just when you have leaders like that don't care about what happened last year, they're looking forward to it. They believe their best is yet to come. It makes everything easier, and it makes you want to be right there with them, continue to improve, get better, get stronger, get faster. It's looking good for us this year, I think, and we just got to make sure we keep taking it day by day.
Yeah, Dallas, obviously, talk about sustained excellence, and you're about to enter your 8th season in the NFL. You're a veteran, obviously, aiming for your 2nd Super Bowl. Were there any specific areas this offseason that you look to improve upon, that you want to be better at this deep into your career?
Yeah, not anything like too in particular. Obviously, talk to my coaches, and little things at the top of the route, staying low in my breaks, not getting too overextended with my plants. And then, it's just another thing, just trying to find a way to stay healthy. That's been a tough thing for me, is every year I have a little injury that takes me out of a few games here and there. So finding different ways to, get my body ready, find different people to help me stay on the field for sure.
Okay, fair enough. I have a couple more questions for you before we wrap things up. I want to ask you, is there any certain game on the schedule that you're looking forward to, or is it all just like, not every game is as important as the other one?
It's every game's as important as the other one, but I'm really looking forward to the first game of the year. It's going to be, the first game of the NFL season. It's against one of our biggest rival, the Dallas Cowboys, and it's the night that our banner gets dropped. So I think that'll be an incredible atmosphere at the link. And then rivalry game to start the year is going to be a lot of fun to, set the stage for what's to come.
Yeah, you talked about the banner and whatnot. It's pretty safe to say that emotions are going to be running high for that season opener then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to hear what Coach Sirianni has to say before that game leading up to the week of it, because I know he wishes they would drop the banner today and then we wouldn't have to worry about it ever again, because he doesn't want us thinking about last year. He's all about this year. So there's different things like that, but it's going to be pretty incredible.
Makes sense, man. This is my final football-related question for you. Any objectives for the 2025 season, whether that be individual or team? Obviously, team is to win another Super Bowl, I'm going to guess, but individual, I guess I should ask you.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of the same as always. As a tight end on the team that we have 2 number 1 receivers. We have an incredible running back. We have a great quarterback that can win in many different ways. So I just want to be on the field as much as I can and whatever I can do to help the team win games. I'm not worried about getting 100 catches, getting 1,000 yards. Obviously, I would love both of those things. But if you only say you're successful if you do that and you don't achieve it, but you have a really good year, there's different things, or that's not what I want to pride my season on. So for me, it's, winning my one-on-ones, being an outlet for the quarterback when he needs me, and, just blocking really well. And like I said, I just want to put the team in the best position to win games. And, for me, that'll be a successful season.
Like you said, Dallas, it's all about the team. It's all about winning. That's the key objective.
Yes, sir.
Wish you the best of luck as you defend that Super Bowl title, man.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Dallas. Thank you, man. So, a lot of interesting things Dallas had to say there in that interview. The key things that I took away from that interview with Dallas, and by the way, always great speaking of Dallas. He gives me great insight, great analysis, very thoughtful answers. Like he said about his decision to return to the Eagles, it wouldn't have felt right leaving Philadelphia. He wanted to do whatever it took to make it work so he would have that opportunity to defend the Super Bowl title and repeat as a Super Bowl champ in Philadelphia. As far as the topics about, the concern over maybe the Eagles aren't as motivated as they were before, now that they have a Super Bowl title under their belts, now that they beat the crap out of the Chiefs, let's just be honest. Let's not sugarcoat it. They beat the living crap out of the Chiefs. That 40-22 score doesn't do justice. They beat them a lot worse than that. Kansas City made it look a lot better than it actually was at the end of that game. But the key things that Dallas was saying, everybody's almost more hungry. The key is continuing to evolve. And, he was talking about a story here where Jalen Hurts hung out with Michael Jordan in the offseason. And, Dallas Goedert asked MJ what it takes to sustain success. MJ's obviously, one of the greatest winners of all time, 6 NBA championships. He's seen as the pinnacle of the NBA, the ultimate winner of the NBA, along with Bill Russell. And as far as when I asked him about his own objectives for the upcoming season, he made it clear, Dallas, that he's not worried about 100 catches and 1,000 yards. He's worried about doing whatever it takes to help the team continue to win. And one of the things that he stressed was remaining healthy and remaining on the field to help his team continue to win games. So, as far as going back to this topic about the Eagles, possibly repeating as Super Bowl champs, and how does that outlook look? How do their prospects look? I mean, here's the bottom line. Going into the season, and we're 2.5 months away from the start of the season, so it's not saying much, but at the beginning of the season, leading into the season, the Eagles, they should be at the top of the power rankings list, right? They are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. It's them and the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I said, on paper, everything looks great right now. But as everybody knows, when a season starts and as you go through the rigors of an NFL season, injuries take place, injuries happen, injuries affect the outcome of games, and it affects the prospects of a team. We saw that happen. There's no greater example of that than the San Francisco 49ers last year. They had such a supremely talented team. They were coming off of a Super Bowl appearance where they nearly beat the Chiefs. Everybody, was picking the Niners. They were picking the Niners to go deep again into the playoffs. They were a Super Bowl favorite, and they suffered an injury after injury, whether that was to Christian McCaffrey, whether that was to Brandon Ayuk, whether that was to multiple defensive players, and they didn't even make it to the playoffs. Okay, you look at the Lions. They were able to withstand their injuries, the key injuries to Aiden Hutchinson, for example, and others, and still emerge with the NFL's best record and the NFC's #1 seed, but it eventually caught up to them where they lost at home to the Washington Commanders in the divisional round. So injuries play a major role, but with that being said, let's imagine a perfect world. Let's imagine the Eagles don't suffer too many major injuries. Let's say Saquon Barkley remains healthy and remains durable despite, heck, he carried the ball a lot last season. He carried the ball 345 times in the regular season last year and 91 times in the playoffs for 436 total carries. Okay, and Saquon, at a couple different points during his career, earlier in his career with the New York Giants, he went through some injury-plagued seasons. So it's certainly possible. But let's just say nothing happens to Saquon, nothing happens to Jalen Hurts. Defense remains pretty upright. Yeah, there's no doubt that the Eagles should advance deep into the playoffs. But again, that is so far out from now. But on paper, the Eagles look good. They look as good as they did last season. And heading into the season, for whatever that's worth, they should be the Super Bowl favorites. Now, if you're asking me, okay, who are the top teams that should be considered threats to the Philadelphia Eagles and their quest to repeat? So, I named a number of teams on the Eagles' schedule that could fit that bill, but I will narrow it down to a top three contenders list to the Philadelphia Eagles and their supremacy in the NFL. So first things first, I'll name number 3. I'll say it's the Los Angeles Rams. Like I said before, it's no secret, the Rams gave the Eagles their stiffest test of the playoffs. It wasn't the Chiefs, it wasn't the Commanders. Okay, it was the Los Angeles Rams. This is a team that continues to keep getting better, in this post-Super Bowl era. I know that they just won the Super Bowl 4 years ago, but this is a completely different team, completely different roster from the one they saw on the field 4 years ago. There's only 8 players remaining from that 2021 Super Bowl team. It's really just, the holdovers that are still around, which is Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay for the most part. So it's a completely different team, but it's a completely revamped team. Man, they have so many young pieces, man. Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, those 2 Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates, Jared Verse, who ended up winning the award, and Braden Fisk. That's an absolutely stacked team, and they just keep getting better and better. They add Devontae Adams in the offseason. I said it in the last episode, or a couple episodes ago, how this team is just knocking on the doorstep of being a true Super Bowl contender. They're right there. So Rams, number 3. Number 2, I'll say the Detroit Lions. This is a team I truly believe, if not for their injuries, and they had a lot. They were the most injured team in the NFL last season. They had their starters miss the most games of any team in the NFL, along with San Francisco 49ers. Okay, and they still went 15-2. They still were the #1 seed in the NFC. They still looked damn good until that divisional round playoff loss to the Washington Commanders. So you're damn right that Dan Campbell is going to be pissed off after what happened last season. His players are going to be pissed off after what happened last season. I spoke during Super Bowl week to David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You could just see it in their eyes, and you could just see it off of their vibes, their personality. They are determined to get back on the field and finish the job. Because remember, it's only a couple of years ago when they lost the Niners in the NFC Championship game, a game that they should have won, a game that they were leading by, what was it again, 17 points? Okay, so they should have won that game, the NFC Championship game. They should have went to the Super Bowl that year. And last year, they were the favorites to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl until losing that divisional round game against, the Washington Commanders that nobody expected. So they have all the ingredients here. They have the running game, they have Jared Goff, they have the wide receivers, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have the defense when the players are healthy. Aiden Hutchinson, he was leading the league in sacks when he was injured early on in the season. So he's going to be back with a vengeance. So the Lions are going to be back up there. As far as the number one team, the biggest threat to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I know people are going to hate hearing me say this because they hope that the Kansas City Chiefs are done. They're tired of the Chiefs, reigning supreme. They're tired of hearing about Patrick Mahomes. They're tired of hearing about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I get it, guys, but the bottom line is the Chiefs, they're not going anywhere. I know people, they saw the Super Bowl, they're like, oh, the Chiefs were exposed, the Eagles exposed them, the Eagles have their number. There's no excuses for this, but the Chiefs, they had a bad game. They had a bad game on the biggest stage, but let's not forget, this is a team that's won 3 Super Bowls in this current era. This is a team that still has a quarterback who is yet to turn 30 years old. He won't turn 30 until September. He's still in the prime of his career. They still have Andy Reid. And even though Travis Kelce is still slowing down, he's still arguably the best receiving tight end in the NFL. And oh yeah, I forgot to add this. They lost one real game last season before the Super Bowl, and that was against the Buffalo Bills in the regular season. They beat the Bills again in the playoffs. They're 4-0 against the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. And make no mistake about it, these two teams match up again in the playoffs, which they very well could this season. I'm still picking Kansas City over the Buffalo Bills. That's just the reality. Until Josh Allen and the Bills, they proved me wrong. They prove that they can beat the Chiefs when it matters. I'm not talking about the regular season. I'm talking about in the playoffs when the lights are shining brightest. I'm going to pick the Chiefs over the Bills. So yes, absolutely. Biggest threat to the Philadelphia Eagles this upcoming season, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And you better believe with Travis Kelce nearing the end of his career, this could very well be the last year of his career. He'll be 36 this year. He wants to end it on a strong note. He has made it no secret that he wants to end his career on a strong note. He's even said that if, things went differently last year in that Super Bowl game where they didn't lose in such a blowout fashion, maybe, his decision would have been a little bit different as far as coming back. But things happened the way they did, but you better believe that the Chiefs are going to be back with a vengeance. And a lot of people forget that their top 2 wide receivers went down early on in the season. That's Marquise Hollywood-Brown and Rashee Rice, and they're both going to be back. So that's going to add another element to the offense that you did not see in that Super Bowl game against the Philadelphia Eagles. With that being said, that wraps up this week's edition of the RG NFL Weekly. I want to thank you guys again for joining us. You can follow us on YouTube at the RG Media 1. I repeat, that is the RG Media 1, where you can see all of our top interviews, all of our top NFL interviews. Recently I interviewed T-Mac of the Carolina Panthers, Broncos legend Ed McCaffrey, Kyler Gordon of the Chicago Bears, Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams, and you can check out all those interviews on our YouTube channel, which is updated basically daily. Like I said before, guys, thank you for joining us this week. I'll see you guys next week.